Dalinar said as the Bright Lord tumbled backward off his horse. Dalinar dodged around flashing hooves and snorts of pain, seeking out the fallen man. He was pleased to find the enemy rising. Dalinar came in swinging, and the Bright Lord managed to get his sword up. Dalinar battered it away, then dropped his own shield completely and came in with a two-handed power swing, intending to knock the light-eyed soldier back down. Fortunately, the man was good enough to recover his stance and intercept the blow with his shield. They probably heard the subsequent crack all the way back in Kholinar. Indeed, it vibrated up Dalinar's arms. Momentum. Life was about momentum. Pick a direction and don't let anything, man or storm, turn you aside. Dalinar battered at the Bright Lord, driving him backward until the man pulled a surprise feint and managed to get in close to ram Dalinar with his shield. And Dalinar ducked the blow that followed, but the backhand hit him solidly on the side of the head, sending him stumbling. His helm twisted, metal bent by the blow, biting into his scalp, drawing blood. He saw double, his vision swimming. He roared as the Lord smartly came in for the kill. Dalinar swung his blade up in a lurching, full-shouldered blow, slapping the Bright Lord's weapon out of his hands and tossing both swords aside. The man, in turn, punched Dalinar with a gauntlet, and he felt his nose crunch. Dalinar fell to his knees, vision blurry. His foe was breathing deeply, cursing between breaths, winded by the short, frantic contest. The Bright Lord fished at his belt for a knife. An emotion stirred inside of Dalinar, a fire that filled the pit within. It washed through him and awakened him, bringing clarity. The sounds of his elites fighting the Bright Lord's honor guard faded, metal on metal becoming clinks, grunts becoming like a distant humming. Dalinar grinned. Then that grin became a toothy smile. His vision returned as the Bright Lord, who had just retrieved his knife, looked up and started, stumbling back. He seemed horrified. Dalinar roared, spitting blood and throwing himself at the enemy. The swing that came for him seemed pitiful, and Dalinar ducked it, pushing his shoulder against his foe and shoving him backward. Something thrummed inside of Dalinar, the pulse of the battle, the rhythm of killing and dying. The thrill. He knocked his opponent off balance, then reached for his sword. Jenin, however, hollered his name and tossed him a poleaxe with a hook on one side and broad thin axe on the other. Dalinar seized it from the air and spun, ducking the Lord's swing. At the same time, he hooked the man around the ankle with the axe head and yanked. The Bright Lord fell in a clatter of steel. Before Dalinar could attack further, unfortunately, the honor guard became a bother. Two had managed to extricate themselves from Dalinar's men, and they came to the defense of their lord. Dalinar caught their sword strikes on his polearm and twisted it about, backing away and bringing the axe head slamming into one man's side. He ripped it free and spun again, smashing the weapon against the rising lord's head and sending him back to his knees. And then he came back around and barely caught the last guard's sword on the haft of his polearm. Dalinar pushed upward, holding the polearm in two hands, sweeping the guard's blade into the air over his head and stepping forward until he was face to face with the fellow. He could feel the man's breath. Then Dalinar spit blood from his shattered nose in the guard's eyes and kicked him in the stomach. He turned toward the Bright Lord, who had scrambled again to his feet and was now trying to flee. Full of the thrill, Dalinar growled and swung the polearm by one hand, hooking the spike into the Lord's side and pulling, dropping him yet a third time. The Lord rolled and was greeted by the side of Dalinar, slamming his polearm down by two hands, driving the spike right through the breastplate and into the man's chest. It made a satisfying crunch, and Dalinar pulled it out, bloodied. The blow seemed a signal of sorts, and the honor guard and other soldiers finally broke before his elites. Dalinar grinned as he watched them go, glory spren popping up around him like glowing golden spheres. Damnation, it felt good to best a force larger than his own. The thrill, unfortunately, dwindled. He could never seem to hold on to it as long as he wanted. Nearby, the man he felled groaned softly. Dalinar stepped over, curious, and kicked at the armored chest. "Why?" the man said from within his helm. "Why us?" "Don't know," Dalinar said, tossing the polearm back to Jenin. You don't know?" "My brother chooses. I just go where he points me." He gestured toward the dying man, and Jenin rammed a sword in the hole in the breastplate, finishing the job. The fellow had fought reasonably well, no need to extend his suffering. Another soldier approached, handing Dalinar his sword. It had a chip in it the size of a thumb, right in the blade. Looked like it had bent as well. You're supposed to stick it in the squishy parts, Bright Lord, Jenin said, not pound it against the hard parts. I'll keep that in mind, Dalinar said, tossing the sword aside as one of his men selected a replacement from the men fallen of high enough rank to have one. You all right, Bright Lord? Never been better, Dalinar said, then sucked blood up through his broken nose. Hurt like damnation itself.